We don't expect women to kill. And we often assume that if a woman kills, it somehow is the victim's fault. If the victim is a man, we assume that the man was abusive in some way, or he has done something to bring this out. We don't think women have this in them.
Ana Trujillo was a 45-year-old mother of two and a former executive at Coca-Cola.
When you look at the house Ana was living in, and you realize that within a matter of 4 years she was homeless, it's really an illustration of how quickly her life plummeted and how far.
In 2009, Ana's second marriage fell apart, and she moved to downtown Houston.
After Ana moved to Houston, she started going man to man, and she was using the men for money. They were paying her rent, they were giving her cash. She had really become dependent on her sexuality.
In 2012, Ana met 59-year-old Stefan Anderson. Within weeks, she'd moved into his apartment.
He was very intelligent, very charming. He seemed to be a very good person. And he completely fell in love with me. I always have loved shoes. And Stefan had a shoe fetish. He liked me wearing heels. That was his thing. He didn't ask for a lot of things, and I loved pleasing him.
It was a look that she was cultivating. It was that sexy Latina, the fun girl out on the town.
But things were about to take a turn for the worse. After a night out, Ana and Stefan had an argument that started in the back seat of a taxi.
Are you reporting an assault, ma'am?
Yes, he assaulted me. I hit him with my shoe and he's bleeding. He started beating me up.
When Houston police received Ana Trujillo's desperate 911 call, they raced to her boyfriend's high-rise condo and walked into a slaughterhouse.
Murder by stiletto. Ana Trujillo faces life in prison after a Houston jury found her guilty of killing her boyfriend with a blue high heel. Dubbed the stiletto murder, prosecutors allege Trujillo hit Dr. Stefan Anderson in the head 25 times with her 5.5-inch heels. Trujillo claims self-defense.
In April 2014, 45-year-old Ana Trujillo stood trial for first-degree murder.
It was a very dramatic trial because the crime was a dramatic crime. At the center of this case, from the beginning to the end, was that high heel shoe.
I think female defendants and female murderers are much harder to prosecute because society doesn't want to believe that they are the aggressor. And then what happens usually happens behind closed doors, and it is hard to know the dynamics of every intimate relationship.
There's a passage.
Ana, from the moment she was interviewed by police, always claimed to be a victim of domestic violence.
And he grabbed me, and he wouldn't let me go, and he started wrestling with me. And then he got on top of me, and I couldn't breathe, and I was suffocating.
She was claiming that Dr. Anderson had abused her, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and that she finally had to kill him in self-defense.
It is always going to be the focus of the trial, that it was either self-defense or sudden passion, because that's typically what it very often is.
As the only eyewitness in the case, everything rested on whether the jury believed Ana Trujillo's version of what happened that night.
I went upstairs, and when he came in, he was upset. And then he saw the suitcases, and he goes, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm going to go see my family in the morning." We discussed this, remember? I'm just going, and you're gonna come with me next week. And he became furious. He changed completely, like he wasn't himself anymore. And I really got afraid. At that point, he started to slam me against the wall. He took my hands, I'm beating him against the wall.
A 5-year-old with common sense could have seen what happened. He confronted her and was grabbing her by the shoulders.
As he put his hands on me, I was falling back, And I think that's when I grabbed a hold of his hair or something.
If you get on YouTube or something, watch girl fights, that's what they always do. They go for the hair.
We were rolling around and he was on top of me and I couldn't breathe and he was suffocating me and he wouldn't let me go and I was just saying, please let me go. And I reached over and I found a shoe and he was on top of me and I was just hitting him with the shoe however I could. And I was going, please get off of me. And I was just crying. I was like, please. And he was just like laughing. It didn't even seem like it was fazing him.
She said that she was suffocating and she used whatever weapon was at hand. It was an obvious case of sudden passion. It was a fight gone bad.
We know that the altercation, the argument happened at 2:13.
The challenge for the prosecution was disproving Anna's testimony that she acted in self-defense.
We as prosecutors don't always have this great forensic evidence that television tells us that we should have. And quite frankly, juries come to the courthouse expecting to have a CSI effect. And Chris Duncan gave us the CSI effect.
When blood travels, it travels in a sphere. And when it lands on a surface, it collapses. And so we can see, because of the shape of the stain on the surface, what direction it was traveling and actually what angle it was traveling. So when we look at the bloodstains on the wall, the stains are circular in nature, which indicates that they impacted at a 90-degree angle. Everything just says the complainant was on the ground, close to the carpeted surface. There was nothing in between him and the carpet when he was being attacked.
It was a game changer for us. He could tell us the story of what happened in that apartment.
Pants that we've documented in State's Exhibit number 150 and 151 are the jeans worn by Ms. Trujillo the night of the incident. What these jeans tell us is that she is straddling the complainant where the blood was on him, which is around the head and on the chest. This blood is saturated over time on the insides of the thighs. And I believe that blows were imparted onto the complainant while she was on top of him with his head between her thighs.
You know what's great? Is you can base your verdict, your sole verdict, on science. You know from the crime scene that he was on the ground as all of the strikes, all 25 plus strikes, were yielded by her. They took an x-ray of the actual stiletto heel, and it was quite powerful because you see that it was actually a metal rod. It was basically the equivalent of an ice pick.
We believe, based on when we recovered the shoe, that she was actually holding it like this, and that she came down on his head and his arms and his chest this way, and that she continued to strike him over 30 times in the head while he laid there defenseless.
After a 2-week trial, the jury took just 4 hours to return their verdict.
Mr. Trujillo, please stand. We, the jury, find the defendant, Anna Trujillo, also known as Anna Fox, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment, signed foreman of the jury.
They gave me life.
So when are you due for parole?
In 30 years. It's not the sentence or the time, it's that they have put me as a murderer. They convicted me and said that I murdered him. I did not murder him. I loved him. And I would never hurt him, despite of what it says or what everyone says. It's just say so. They just want to discredit me and they just want to make me the person that I'm not.
Anna Trujillo was not a victim of domestic violence. Anna Trujillo was not a victim of anything. And my fear was that she was going to set all victims of domestic violence back, and that people may not believe a woman that comes forward and says that.